My name is Unique Green Ricketts. I am the founder and owner of YGR Immigration Services and YGR Student Recruitment Services. Please feel free to check us out on Instagram at YGR_IS and at YGR_SRS. You can also find us on Facebook and LinkedIn at YGR Immigration Services, and you can also find us on YouTube at YGR Info Corner. For today's presentation, we are going to be diving into the different opportunities in which one will be able to live, study, and even work in Canada. Without further ado, we are going to jump right in. And I am just going to be going over some of the different topics that we will be discussing, in addition to showing you how to maneuver through the Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada, otherwise known as the IRCC website, as to how you'll be able to find the information that we will be discussing today in great detail. All right. So the first thing that you need to know when it comes to your Canadian immigration journey, you have to start by knowing what your tier category is and what your national occupational classification is. In addition to that, when it comes to one trying to gain permanent residency through Canada's economic pathway, it will require you to ensure of credential assessment is done, and that can be done with different organizations. However, one of the popular options is World Education Services, otherwise known as WES, for your credentials to be assessed. With WES, you're looking at approximately 240 Canadian dollars to get your credentials assessed, and their system is very user-friendly as well. Now, when it comes to the English language exam, this will also be a requirement, and depending on the pathway that you may be using for permanent residency, or depending on your reason for visiting Canada, whether it may be for studying, then you will be required to do an English language exam. Now, for the purpose of permanent residency, you are able to do the IELTS or the CELPIP exam. However, the CELPIP exam can only be taken if you are inside of Canada, whether you're here as a visitor. You are able to take that CELPIP exam here in Canada, whether you're here as a visitor or you're here working and you're ready to start the process for permanent residency. If you are not a visitor or you're not a worker in Canada, then that's fine. It just means then that the IELTS is the option that you will have to use, and you will have to just do some searching around within your country to get details as to where you'd be able to sit the English language exam within a institution within your area. Now, the IELTS exam usually costs anywhere between 340 to 360 Canadian dollars. Now, that may have changed. However, don't quote me on that price. However, it is within that price range. The CELPIP is normally within a $280 price range. It's normally the cheaper option and also has a faster turnaround time. However, if you are not in Canada, then the IELTS will have to be the option that you'll have to take. And keep in mind that they will be grading you on academic level English, and you will be tested in 4 different abilities. That is going to be reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Those are the 4 different abilities that you will be tested in as it relates to your English language exam. And again, you can either take the IELTS exam, which is academic level, approximately 340 to 360 Canadian dollars. You'll have to look around within your country and your area to see where that exam is being offered. Now, again, if you are a visitor or a temporary worker in Canada, then you will be able to do the CELPIP option, which is a lot easier than the IELTS exam, and it's also cheaper and also has a faster turnaround time. Now, depending on the pathway that you may use for permanent residency, as we go through, you will realize that different pathways have a different English language requirement minimum. So, for example, for one that may have been interested in the express entry under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, the requirement for the English language pass mark is no less than a CLB 7, okay? And that is a Canadian language benchmark minimum requirement 7. So again, we will go over this in great detail. Now, something else that you also need to know is the National Occupational Classification. So this is a specific code that is tied to whatever your current occupation is or whatever your occupation would have been in the past. Again, so for the purpose of permanent residency, you want to have one main occupation, and then from there, you would then be able to fine tune what national or what we call the knock number would be tied to your occupation. And that will really be of great assistance for you as you move forward on your journey to permanent residency. So again, one of the four important pieces of information that you need to know to start your Canadian journey, you need to know what your knock is. You need to know what your tier category is, and you need to ensure that you start looking about getting a IELTS or CELPIP English language exam done. Something that I forgot to mention as well, when it comes to the English language exam, this exam is only valid for a 2-year period, after which you will have to retake it again if you were not able to find a pathway to permanent residency during the validity period of that 2-year time frame. With a credential assessment, that is valid for a 5-year period. So if you're not able to find permanent residency option within a 5-year period, then you will have to redo your credential assessment. Now, some of the different pathways to permanent residency that we will be looking at today, in addition to program requirements, we are going to be looking at the Atlantic Immigration Program. We're also going to be looking at the Provincial Nominee Program and also the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program. We won't be going over these programs in great detail. However, we will skim through so you're able to see what the different requirements are. And I'll also be leaving a link below in the description of this video that will take you directly to the different websites where you will able to have access to the different information in terms of requirements. All right, so now we are going to look at how one can find their national occupational classification number in addition to their tier category. So we're simply going to type in NOC website, and we're going to select National Occupational Classification. And there we have it. Now, if you, for the purpose of just an example, I'm just going to type in administrative assistant into this field. And we're going to use this occupation as an example throughout. All right, so you would simply enter your job title. So whatever your current occupation is, that's what you would put in here. We're going to hit search. Once we hit search, you can see it provides a different categories of administrative assistance. However, we're not interested in medical or legal. We're strictly interested in just the administrative assistant. So we're going to select that option. And this number here is what will be your national occupational classification number. Now, as you can see, this number is not only tied to those in the administrative assistant occupation. You can see here there are other titles or occupation titles that are tied to this NOC number, and those titles would be Executive Secretary, except for Legal and Medical, Human Resources Administrator, Office Administrative Assistant, Private Secretary, Secretary except Legal and Medical, and Technical Secretary. So all these different occupations would be tied to this NOC code. Not only that, but if we look over here, you will see what the tier category is for this NOC code, and that is a tier category 3. So remember, there's different pathways to permanent residency that will have the eligible different tier options. So if you are someone that may be sitting at a tier 4 or a tier 5, then perhaps a pathway that only accept those in the tier category between 0 and 3, you would not be eligible for that pathway to permanent residency. So if we scroll down, you will see here some duties outlined that one must perform from a daily basis in their current occupation. So from this list, if you are able to say yes to 50% or more of these different duties, then it means that you have found the correct NOC code that is tied to your occupation. All right, so we've looked at how to find your NOC category, and we've looked at how to find your tier. So now we are going to go to the IRCC website, and we are going to look at the different pathways to permanent residency. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the Atlantic Immigration Program, the Provincial Nominee program. Specifically, we're going to look at BC, and we'll also look at the Rural and Northern Immigration Program as well. And again, we'll only be doing a skim over these different pathways. So we're going to go to the IRCC website, and what we want to select is Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. We're going to select Immigrate, and we are going to select the Atlantic Immigration Program. So something to know about the Atlantic Immigration Program, it is made up of 4 different provinces. Those provinces are Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland and Labrador, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia. So we're simply going to go here and we are going to look at all the different requirements that have to be met in order for one to qualify for this pathway to permanent residency. So as you can see here for work experience, it does state that you must have had at least 1 year of full-time work experience within the last 5 years, and that could also be in part-time hours as well. Now, if we scroll down, you'll also see where it has the different tier categories. If you are sitting in a tier 5 category, then you would not qualify to submit an application for permanent residency, as that alone would disqualify you. Now we're going to scroll down and we're going to look at the educational requirements. So as you can see here, depending on the tier category that you're in, it will determine what the minimum educational requirements will be for what you need to have. So you can see here that those who are sitting in a tier 0 to a tier 1 category, you must have at least a 1-year Canadian post-secondary educational credential or higher, or the equivalent from outside of Canada. And in order to know what the equivalent of your credential is, that is where you'll have to get your credential assessed with World Educational Services. Now, if you look further down, you can see here those in a tier category 2, 3, or 4, you must have a minimum of a Canadian high school diploma or the equivalent from outside Canada. Now, if we scroll down, we are going to look at the language requirements, and we can see here that the language requirements is going to be based on what tier category you are in. So if you are sitting in a tier category of 0, 1, 2, or 3, then it means that you will need to ensure that you pass your English language exam with no more or no less than a CLB of 5. So even though the pass mark is a CLB 5, we normally advise our clients to aim for a higher CLB, okay? Nothing is wrong though if you get the passing requirement, and that's still good. Now you can see if you're sitting in a tier 4 category, then the passing requirement would be a CLB level 4. Okay, now this pathway also has a settlement funds that are required that you'll have to show that you have readily available. So if you are, for example, a family of 3, which would be a husband, wife, and a child, then you will need to show that you have at least 5,263 Canadian dollars readily available to show the officer that you have that proof of fund to be able to settle upon your arrival in Canada. And as you look further down, you can also see the list of what they accept as proof for that income. Okay, now we are finished with, oh, actually, one more thing that you should know. So when it comes to the Atlantic Immigration Program as well, you also will need to have a job offer, and the job offer must be from any one of the employers that are listed on the designated list of employers for any one of the 4 provinces that I listed earlier. Now, as you can see here, the job offer must be a full-time job offer, and it must be non-seasonal, and it must be in the NOC category of 0, 1, 2, or 3, okay, or 4 as well. Now, I will stop right here, as this information, you'll have the link accessible to you where you can do a further deep dive. So the next program that we are going to look at is the provincial program, and specifically we are going to be looking at BC. So again, you'll just go back to the main IRCC website and you're going to select let me just go back here. You're going to select provincial nominees. Now, when we select the provincial nominee program, we're going to scroll down and we are going to select British Columbia. The reason why I'm using British Columbia as an example is because right now BC has the greatest need for those in the tech field and for those in the healthcare sector. And as we go through, you will see the list of those specific occupations. Okay, so let me just scroll here. And as you can see, these are the different occupations within the tech field that they have a great need for at the moment, okay? And just so you are aware, those who are in this occupation, your application for permanent residency will be processed based on priority, based on the need. Okay, and same thing for the healthcare occupation. So you can see all the list of different occupations within the healthcare sector that BC has a great demand for. Again, these applications for permanent residency are prioritized and they are fast track. That simply means that these applications are processed quicker than the person who may be in an occupation outside of the healthcare field and outside of the tech field. Okay, and now we'll quickly browse over what some of the requirements may be for the BC program. Their provincial program has multiple streams, such as a skilled worker stream, health authority stream, international graduate stream, international postgraduate stream, and entry-level and semi-skilled worker stream. So right now, we are going to be focusing on what the requirements are for the skilled worker stream. You must be sitting in a tier category of a 0, 1, 2, or 3 to qualify for the skilled worker stream. And as you go down into the different streams, it will tell you what the NOC requirement will be. Your tier category must be in a tier 0, 1, 2, or 3. And we can see here that you must have a minimum of 2 years of full-time work experience in any skilled occupation within a tier category of 0, 1, 2, or 3. And the work experience can be performed, whether that was within Canada or outside of Canada as well. Okay, so I am going to leave that here. I will not go any further. Again, I will leave the link to this information so you'll have access to it and you can do a further deep dive. So the next program that we're going to be looking at is the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program. Again, this program is made up of different communities within Canada that are willing to offer permanent or to sponsor a specific individual for a permanent residency application. Again, those communities are North Bay, Ontario, Sudbury, Ontario, Timmins, Ontario, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Thunder Bay, Ontario, Brandon, Manitoba, Altona, Ryland, Manitoba, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Claresholm, Alberta, Vernon, BC, and West Kootenay, BC. And you can simply just select the link of the different community websites to see the job opportunities that they may have, because this program is also dependent on having a job opportunity within any of the communities listed. Okay. Now we're quickly going to skim over the requirements that needs to be met to be able to qualify for this pathway. So you can see here the work experience must be at least 1 year of full-time work experience in the last 5 years, and the work experience can be either full-time or part-time. Now, if we scroll down, we can see here, based on the different tier categories, they accept anyone within a tier 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 category. Okay, now if we scroll down here, we can look at what the language requirements are. So if you are sitting in a tier 0 and 1 category, you must pass your English language exam with no less than a CLB 6. If you're sitting in a tier 2 or tier 3 category, you must be able to pass your English language exam with no less than a CLB 5, and for tier 4 and 5, no less than a CLB 4. Okay, now as it relates to the educational requirements, you can see here Canadian Secondary High School Diploma or Canadian Post-Secondary Certificate, Diploma, or Degree, or you must have the equivalent to that by ensuring that you do an educational credential assessment. Now, this program also has its own settlement funds, otherwise known as proof of fund requirement. So if we take a look at what that is, let's go there. Again, for a family of 3, that would consist of a husband, wife, and 1 child. You would have to show that you have 3,623 Canadian dollars available in your account to show as proof to the immigration officer that you'll have that fund ready to be able to settle. All right, so that is going to be it for the Rural and Northern Immigration Program. We are also going to be looking at some of the important things that you need to know as it relates to working in Canada. So I will just let you watch this video here with all the important information packed within it. Now, as you can see in that video, it went over some of the requirements or some of the important things that one would need to know if your interest perhaps is strictly just wanting to work in Canada. If you want to work in Canada and you do not have a spouse here that is able to sponsor you on a spousal sponsorship application, or if you do not have a spouse here who is a international student, and that simply means that you would meet the eligibility requirements for you to be able to apply for a spousal open work permit to be able to work in Canada, then that simply means that you would be an individual that would fall under the criteria of needing a LMIA in order to support your application for a closed work permit. And if you, for example, have a visitor's visa, you are able to convert your status over into being a worker. However, with that, you will need a positive LMIA to support your application for a work permit. And this specific work permit ties you to just working to that employer and that employer alone, which is why it's called the employer specific work permit. Okay, and we'll get into that. Those who are currently thinking of wanting to work in Canada and you're not quite sure how to start your journey, or if you're an individual that has a visitor's visa to Canada and would like to convert your status over into a worker, then you can simply go to the IRCC website. And this time we're going to select work, and we're going to scroll down, and we are going to select find a new job if you are already in Canada. Now, when you search here, you can see there's over 11,000 jobs. And say for the example purpose, we're going to select Alberta. And we are going to type in, we're just going to select the first option here. So there's a marketing coordinator, and we can see that's in Edmonton, Alberta, and they are paying $33.85 hourly. And we can see that this job was posted on September the 27th, 2023. So that would be pretty recent. So if we click into this option here, this will tell us right here that when you see this arrow reflecting in amber, this means that the employer has applied for a labor market impact assessment with Employment, Social and Development Canada. However, that LMIA has not yet had a decision made on it. So as you can see, they are looking for one person to fill this position. It tells you the address of the job location, and it also tells you that you'll be working 35 hours per week, and this will be for permanent employment full-time opportunity. You can see more of the job details by scrolling down here to see what is going to be expected. And you can also select here, and this will show you how to apply. So you'll simply apply by sending your cover letter and resume to the email address outlined here. And you can also see when the job posting will end. So this is how you will be able to maneuver the different working opportunities in Canada for employers who are seeking to hire temporary foreign workers, and they either already have a LMIA that has been approved or one that is currently pending and waiting for a decision to be made. So this system here is very user friendly. So you can narrow or filter this out by simply selecting what province you may want to study in. And you can even go as far as typing in the occupation and specifically where within the province that you are interested in studying in. Now, or sorry, working and not studying, my apologies. So we would have already touched on the different pathways to permanent residency as we discussed earlier. Now, we did take a look at the video as it relates to converting your status as a visitor to a worker and what those requirements are. Again, those requirements would have been outlined in the video. You can simply just do a quick rewind. And again, for visitors converting their status to a worker, this process would apply to you only if you do not have a spouse in Canada that is going to a designated learning institution as an international student, and that institution is not a private institution. If that is the case, then that means that you would meet the eligibility requirements as a spouse of an international student studying in Canada to be able to apply for an open work permit. In that case, this means that you would not have to worry about receiving a LMIA in order to be submitted or to support your application for work permit. Okay, we also have what is called the Francophone Mobility Program. This program is specifically for French-speaking nationals. So if you know someone that speaks French fluently, or if you speak French fluently and you're interested in working in Canada, then perhaps this may be the perfect pathway for you as the Francophone mobility pathway. It only requires you to be able to speak and listen French fluently, and you can prove that with supporting documentation such as a transcript from your post-secondary institution that would reflect that the program was delivered in a French language, or you would be able to do a TOEFL exam. Okay, and with that exam, and this is a French exam, with that exam, you'd have to pass with no less than a minimum requirement of a 5, okay, on your French language exam test. And you'd be able to use those results to substitute if you do not have a transcript from a post-secondary institution where the program delivery language was in French. Now, you are able to get a job off, you will be required to have a job offer from a employer in Canada, and that can be anywhere in Canada. However, it must be outside the province of Quebec. And something else that's also important to note is the main language spoken within the work environment does not need to be English. It could, sorry, does not need to be French. My apologies. So it could just be strictly English. That is the language that is spoken within the work environment. That will not disqualify you from potentially getting a approval for a work permit under the Francophone mobility pathway. And again, I will leave the link below to the details of this specific pathway. Again, if you speak French or you know someone that speaks French, this would be of great interest to them. And something else to also note, this work permit is LMIA exempt. So you do not need to have a LMIA in order to support this application for work permit. The only thing you will need is to show that you have a valid job offer from a Canadian employer outside of the province of Quebec, and you show your supporting documentation of the fact that you are able to speak and listen French fluently at a minimum CLB level of a 5, and you can show proof of that by sitting a French language exam or showing that you have post-secondary credentials that were delivered in a French language. All right, and again, I'll leave the description of the requirements of this pathway for working down below as well in the description field. All right, now we're going to look at studying in Canada, and you can just take a minute here just to watch this video. Now, when it comes to studying in Canada, this is where YGR Student Recruitment Services would step in and would be able to assist you by ensuring we are able to find you the correct program that would enhance whatever skill set that you may currently have, or that would be an enhancement on top of whatever educational credentials that you currently have, while also ensuring that whatever program we select, it would allow you to find a viable pathway for permanent residency, in addition to also ensuring that it would qualify for a post-graduation work permit. And when we talk about what a post-graduation work permit is, this is a specific work permit that international students receive after graduating from their program of study. And with this work permit, it is issued based on the length of your program. So if you take a 1-year post-secondary program in Canada, you are entitled to receive a 1-year post-graduation work permit. And this allows you to work openly for any employer in Canada for a period of 1 year. Now, if you are attending a post-secondary institution in Canada and doing a program for 2 years or more in length, then you would automatically receive a post-graduation work permit for a 3-year period. That simply means you would be able to work openly for any employer in Canada for a 3-year period under that post-graduation work permit. And again, that is more than enough time to get all the work experience that you need to ensure that you are able to find a viable option for a pathway to permanent residency. Now, something else that I also want to note, when it comes to studying in Canada, a lot of people are not aware that you are able to bring your family along with you. So if you are a wife and you want to study in Canada and there's some concerns that you may not want to travel to Canada by yourself, your husband is more than welcome to travel with you. If you have small children, those children are also able to travel with you as well. However, at the time that you submit your application for a study permit, you would also have to acknowledge on that application that yes, your spouse will be accompanying you as well as your children. So that way all applications can be processed at the same time, which means that your application for a study permit would be submitted in addition to an application for a work permit for your spouse and study authorization for your children to be able to attend school legally in Canada while you are completing your post-secondary studies, and also allowing your spouse to work openly for any employer in Canada while you are completing your post-secondary studies. Now, something to note, YGR Student Recruitment Services, we do offer student loan options through our third-party partner or affiliate. However, something that you should know when it comes to the student loan option, we do oftentimes issue at a max student loan of 100,000. However, there's no guarantee that if you apply for the maximum amount that you will get it. You may get a partial amount, and there are certain things that they may look at in to determine whether or not you may qualify for the student loan option. However, if this is something that is of interest to you, you can just reach out to me and we can go through what those different requirements are. But in order to qualify for the student loan option, you have to be attending a program that is 2 years or less. If you are doing a 3-year program or a 4-year program, you will not be eligible to apply for a student loan. Now, say for example, you are an international student that's interested in a 4-year program. At the time that you've completed 2 years out of your 4-year program with only 2 years remaining, at that point, you'd be able to apply for a student loan and you would qualify because there's only a 2-year period remaining in in your program. Okay, now again, if you want more details about the student loan options, if you are thinking of studying internationally, please do reach out to me privately, and I'm more than happy to give you some more details and information as it relates to that. Something to also note, some post-secondary institutions in Canada do require potential students to do a English exam. Now, we do offer discounted rates for those English exams should you be someone that is potentially interested in studying internationally in Canada, and the program of study or school of study does have that requirement of that English exam. Now, something else to note, with YGR Student Recruitment Services, you will also get a free 1-hour session with one of our licensed Canadian financial advisor that will bring you or keep you up to date or bring you up to date on the financial landscape of Canada and everything that you need to know as a student coming into Canada for the first time, bank accounts that you may need to set up, certain conversations about employment insurance, your rights, what you need to know, what you need to be aware of. And I think that's a very important conversation to have for any newcomers in Canada. YGR Student Recruitment Services, we do also offer free airport pickup services in certain locations, those locations specifically being Toronto Pearson International Airport, Hamilton International Airport in Ontario, Kitchener Waterloo Airport also in Ontario, and Edmonton International Airport located in Alberta. Okay. And that is it for studying in Canada. Again, if you have any specific information, if you're looking to study in Canada as an international student, please do reach out to me. I'm more than happy to assist you with the process, and there is no cost for a 1-hour consultation to help you figure out all the different aspects here that may be beneficial to you. Now, we are now going to be looking at, so we've already discussed the fact that we do offer student loans. However, we also offer scholarship opportunities. And again, that is possible because we have a partnership with one of our third-party affiliates who also offers scholarship opportunities for those studying in Canada as well as USA as well. And again, if you are interested, you can reach out to me privately and we can look at the different scholarship opportunities to see which would be most suitable for you or which you would meet the requirements for. So if you're interested in studying in Canada, you can simply visit our website at www.ygr-srs.com. And upon visiting our website, this is going to be the YGR Student Recruitment Services website. So if you're interested in studying in Canada, you will simply just select Study Abroad, you will select Canada, and you will scroll down and you will simply select where are you from. I'm just going to put, for example's sake, Nigeria. And I am going to select what level do you want to study, and I would say a 1-year post-secondary certificate. And what do you want to study? Let's say we want to study business, and let's hit search. Now, when you hit search, you will be redirected to this website here, which will allow you to easily filter through what exactly it is that you're looking for. So we are going to simply select, let's see here, let's start at Canada and say you're interested in studying in Alberta. So we'll select Alberta and we're not going to select university or college. We're going to leave that open. And we are going to say program level, we want a 1-year post-secondary certificate. Actually, let's do a 2-year undergraduate diploma. And let's do apply filters. And once you do apply filters, you will simply see all the different schools in Alberta that are offering a program in business, whether that be business administration or business management. And you can also see the tuition cost and how much it would cost you to apply to that school. Now, again, this is something that we would assist you with. We would do this on your behalf, but this is just to show you how to maneuver our website. Again, if you are interested in studying in Canada, UK, America, Australia, or Ireland. So for example's sake, we're just going to select this option here, program details. And with selecting program details, we would be able to see, okay, this is going to be a 2-year undergraduate diploma that you will receive. You can see the cost of living is going to be 12,000 Canadian dollars unless you have someone within Canada that is willing to accommodate you. Now you can see here the cost of the tuition, $16,130, and the application fee is $140. We can see here that they are accepting students for the September 2024 period. And we can also see what the admission requirements are. This would be a grade 12, a minimum of a grade 12 high school diploma with a minimum GPA of 50%. You will also be required to do a English language exam, which can either be IELTS, TOEFL, PTE, or Duolingo. And each number will outline the pass mark that you will have to have in order to meet the admission requirements for this program. This program would also be eligible for a post-graduation work permit. So something to note, if your program is 2 years or more in length, you will automatically receive a 3-year post-graduation work permit allowing you to work in Canada for 3 years after your studies. If you do a 1-year program, then you would be able to receive a 1-year post-graduation work permit, allowing you to only work 1 year in Canada. Okay, now that is going to be it. Now, I would like to just thank everyone for tuning into today's presentation. I do appreciate your time and the fact that you guys are going to be sitting to watch this presentation here with all the information. Again, if you have any additional questions for me, please feel free to reach out to me by contacting me at the information provided within the presentation for today. You will also be able to find my contact information in the description field below of this video.